Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're all doing good and enjoying your day so far. We still have plenty of poverty organisations rolling around the CDL as it stands, and the big question over the last couple of years has been, what is the minimum salary going to be for the new season, and whether it's actually going to continue. We've heard rumours over the last 24 hours or so, the minimum salary is going to disappear from the CDL. Surely not a good sign for the players themselves. One of the promises of the franchise league was more sustainability in this regard. Is this a sign of the CDL absolutely going off a cliff, or is this simply a necessary part of transitioning away from a franchise league? Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Drazah 1v1ing TJ, by the way. I honestly think this season is going to be phenomenal for drama and storylines. Like, we've already seen some, and the Thieves team versus FaZe is going to be obviously spectacular, right? Because it's going to be Scrappy versus Drazah again, in addition to the fact that Scrappy's going to be on the organisation that Drazah competed for and won the World Championship for. So there is that side of the story as well. In addition to, I mean, Thieves versus OpTic has always been a banger, and that's not going to go away. And I think in terms of even individual player rivalries and storylines, this season is, I think, shaping up to be really exciting. So I'm looking forward to it when it gets underway. The game only comes out in less than a month now, and shortly after that, we have the kickoff tournaments and everything that happen. And the current rumor is that the league, they're trying to start it earlier this year. I'm not going to make any promises or anything, but the latest rumors have been behind the scenes that they are going to do their best to at least have some event, or at least the qualifiers, as early as they possibly can before Christmas, right? Which has been standard over the last couple of years, but sometimes it drags on a bit too long, and ideally the league starts, in my opinion, as realistically as close to game release as you can. So I'm hoping that maybe some of the transitions they're making in the CDL this year allow it to be possible for the season to start earlier. I guess we'll see. First thing I wanted to go through though was something that Shotzzy leaked on stream over the last couple of days, and look, more power to Shotzzy. More money he makes, the better as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely no problem at all. I'm not trying to like pocket watch it. I just thought it was interesting that, you know, it's in terms of the context of esports and gaming and where the money is actually made. I thought it was quite fascinating that Shotzzy just had, all right, you know what, I'm just going to share my Twitch analytics on the stream, because this was the month of September. Of course, there was the beta in part of this as well, so he was getting loads of viewers during the beta, but he didn't even stream for a large period of this month, and this was his dashboard from September so far, and he made 49 grand in the last month. That's not even streaming every day. This day on 8th of September, he made like 10 grand from one stream and like 6 grand in subs, or 6 grand in ads. Like, this is just ad revenue, really. So, and then obviously the subs are in like the darker purple or whatever the colors are. But it just goes to show, right, that players who are in a position to stream and make content, like, why would you play for a salary? This is why for Shotzzy, it's like, oh, I have to take a pay cut, Hex? Like, oh no, right? Like, what a disaster. When I can make that up very quickly indeed. I mean, Shotzzy's pretty much made here by streaming half a month the actual average salary, maybe of the entire league, but certainly the minimum salary of the entire league, right? So, you know, obviously there's that perspective that you join OpTic, this can happen with your content, but equally it goes to show why certain players would just consider retiring, or why, you know, these organizations themselves are in a tricky spot, because, you know, these guys are making a killing on Twitch, and lots of advertisers would prefer to work with a specific streamer on their platform where they've got massive viewership than sponsor a league team, right? So it's just, you've got to think of esports, I think, now as more than just competitive gaming. I used to think of esports as like an esports purist, just the competitive players in the servers, but I think there is a bit more to esports than that now. I think you have to consider it as a little bit of like, you know, the streaming part of it as well, the players getting involved in that, because that is also part of the ecosystem, and the teams have to consider that too, because they're struggling to get by many of these organizations from a salary POV, and the individual players that have the big streams are making an absolute killing. And it also, I think, shows why hopefully we're going to get more content, because right now the ad rates on Twitch are crazy, and you know, with any luck, especially if the salaries are going to go down this season, as we're going to talk about over the coming minutes, it means that more players will have to stream, should stream. It's a no-brainer to stream as far as I'm concerned, and hopefully it means more content for the scene in general, so it could be a good thing. It's just, I thought it was kind of remarkable, and it's not like Shotzzy leaked it, like he deliberately showed it. If he leaked it by accident, then I probably wouldn't have talked about it, but he like just said, all right, you know what, let's have a look at this, because it's pretty wild. Now, we still have some poverty orgs in the CDL. Some of them may go. We're hoping, of course, that maybe Raven Ravens gets bought out, I'm hoping. I don't know, maybe they're going to form a decent team. Gorillas, we're pretty sure are gone. Because, I mean, we can have a look at their profile, I guess. They've not tweeted, I was saying sometime. Yeah, July the 23rd was the last time they tweeted anything after, because of course, they went to Champs. They didn't even go to EWC. And then FaZe are like, you guys still here? Like, are we still running this for next season? They're not, is the long and the short of it. They're getting bought out by Gentle Mates. They're coming in to run that spot instead. Goodbye, the Los Angeles Gorillas. But Gorillas over the last couple of seasons have been running it down. They've been trying to get to the end of their time in the CDL, trying to wait until someone will buy them out. And they probably played it okay in a sense, right? Because the last couple of years, the YouTube deal will cover the minimum salaries. And that's a talking point that we're going to discuss here in a second about why the minimums are going down and why it's probably not a good thing for the players. Although, as I say, it might be a good thing for the fans because they're going to have to do more content, right? So there is that angle too. But they've not really tried at all in the last couple of seasons, but the franchise payments have been given back to them. And now they're in a perfect position. Now, effectively, the franchise league is over because, you know, given the money's all been returned to the teams, it's not really a franchise league anymore because, you know, the players, they don't really own the spots in the same way that they previously did. They can, you know, people are actually willing to pay for these spots now and buy them out or at least change ownership because no one really owns it, right? So you can kind of just flip-flop with the team, I suppose. I think there's some sort of like fee that the teams will pay for an ongoing membership of the league, but it's not the same way that it used to be. So Gentlemates are taken over. The big debate, though, of the last 24 hours, and this is something that I actually didn't really expect to change, is the following. When the CDL was first introduced, there was lots of talk about, oh, well, it's going to be so much better because of XYZ. And everyone that knew ball knew it was going to be way worse because of, you know, aBeZy, right? But there were some things that were better. The theory was that there was going to be more stability to the teams. Like pre-CDL, there were some dodgy organizations, right? Denial Esports going around. You know, Team Caliber had their dramas as well, not paying players, like all sorts of problems like this. The thing is, it's not necessarily gone away. Like Ravens still owe one of their coaches Dominate, like tens of thousands of dollars, and he's not going to see any of that money, it seems. So it's not like just because the CDL came around, all the organizations were suddenly good. Clearly not. But one of the benefits was for the players' side. They did mandate a mandatory minimum player salary of, initially it was 50k, then it was 55. I thought this year was like 58 or so, last year was like 58 or something. But Spinner Spence from the league says no more mins, as in minimums, in the CDL. And Jake Hale then follows up and says, yeah, this is true. No more minimum salary requirements in the Call of Duty League starting next year. For the last couple of years, the minimum was set as follows. So, you know, it's just, my question is on this. How does it affect the structure between Tier 1 and Tier 2? Because if you're a Tier 2 player in Challenges, your goal is like to get a league spot because you get the guaranteed 50k and the options to move upwards. Now, where is the separation necessarily going to be? The teams don't have to pay. All they've got to pay is like the actual minimum wage in the respective states in which they operate. That is the bare minimum. And most organizations, I would say at least 10 of the 12 will pay at least this figure, if not more. But some of the organizations, you know, and thankfully, of course, Legion are gone as well. Falcons have taken them over. So I don't know how badly this is going to affect things, but this is one of those things where a players' union would have been great, but the players' union never happens because, well, there was some debate on why Scump didn't want to do it or whatever, but it's certainly not like Scump's fault, as it were, right? The players couldn't get themselves organized enough to actually create a players' union when they could have done at the start of the CDL, and therefore there isn't one, and they have no real decision-making power here. So the organizations can now set their rate. And the difficulty is that even if they're paying like absolute bare minimum wage in some of these states for the players will still kind of need to take it because otherwise, what are you going to do, right? You've got to take the league spot to get noticed to move up to a better team that isn't going to pay you the bare minimum, right? But it's just, you know, it's one of those changes that maybe makes sense in the context of the franchise league ending, but just doesn't really seem to be good for anyone. So, you know, thankfully, Gorillas, I mean, good for the organizations. I guess they get to pay less money. Some of them, if they've run out of cash, I suppose. And also they can say, oh, we'll pay you 50k and we're paying you very handsomely because that's not the minimum anymore. That's way above the minimum. We're paying you really nicely. Or they'll pay you like 45 and say, well, you know, it's not too bad. So it's not great, is it? I think what it will inspire, as we saw a few minutes ago, is is the players to start getting that stream on ASAP because, you know, they're going to need ways to bump up those salary numbers. And maybe it does make the league more sustainable. I guess that is the argument, right? The argument that I would also make, however, is that the deal that the YouTube has with the CDL, that gives the teams, I think it's in the ballpark of, you know, at least 200 to 250k per team they get from that streaming deal. I don't exactly know the specific numbers, but the amount of money that Vegas Legion got from the YouTube deal was enough, I'm pretty sure, to cover all their player salaries on the minimum. So that's kind of like the frustrating thing for me, is like the YouTube deal covers the minimums. So like, there shouldn't really be an issue with the teams doing that, as far as I'm concerned. Then again, in an ideal world, we don't have the YouTube deal, in my opinion, and it's streamed everywhere. YouTube, Twitch, like wherever you want, with no deal in play. I think that's better for the scene. It's probably not better for the long term. We need a media rights deal at some point. For now, I think it's probably more harmful than it is beneficial, but you know, this is an argument that you could potentially throw out there. And it does mean that for guys like Clay, like let's say Clay's trying to come back and he's coming back to a team that isn't that good and they're not going to pay much money. It's like, well, if you're Clay or you're someone, it's like, well, I get to do what I love for 50k. Like, that's acceptable. But depending on the state you live in, really. But if it's now I get to do what I love for like 30k, then all of a sudden it doesn't really hit the same. And you've got to do other things to make it work, I suppose. Just wanted to share what Shotzzy had to say, because like, he was talking about pay cuts. The pay cuts he's really talking about are pay cuts from, you know, 400k to 300k for the top players. For lots of players in the league, that doesn't apply. And, you know, I think he's right in some aspect. If you are not getting paid a massive bag, then you need to win the events. You need to try and actually achieve the prize money, because that's what people were fighting for back in the day. So in terms of for the overall scene, I think there's an argument to say this could be a positive. More players could try harder to actually win rather than just coasting by on a salary, which is probably true, and we're going to get more players streaming. But for the players and the longevity of the ecosystem, I'm not so sure it's a good thing.
Lie, bro. I'm going to be 100%. All this pay cut shit, I think is a good thing for the CDL, bro. Not even like, obviously, like in terms of like for the players itself. Well, no, it's a bad thing, obviously. But in terms of like people actually wanting it and like playing and like, you know what I'm saying? That reasoning, I could be wrong, but I think it'll be like, yo, holy fuck. We actually need to, you know what I'm saying? Because, bro, I mean, bro, I just don't understand, dude, how it's the same people over and over nates every time. It's like, bro, like obviously like in HP, I guess, dude, but like in S&D, bro, like you can learn shit, dude. I'm not even trolling you. Drazah won LA Thieves at one tournament, bro. One of the, I can't even remember what tournament. Just by playing S&D.
So very much interested your thoughts in the comment section, but as always, today, I think pretty much right when this video is on, is the tournament. The 2v2 LAN tournament over there in LA with these guys, Shifty Hisoka, Shotzzy Drazah, Simp aBeZy, HyDra Scrap. Those are the 4 2v2 teams doing battle today. Gunfight, search and destroy. That's how it's going to be. So very much interested your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.